Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bring you guys another Boruto TBV Vortex breaking news update, and today we have new spoilers for Boruto TBV Vortex Chapter 15, full spoilers mind you, which will officially be out on the 20th this month. We got more scaling information about the awakened Shinju. We got Jura putting the fear of God in the code. We got flashbacks to Matsuri versus Gaara, and there is so much that takes place in this chapter. I have the whole chapter in front of me right now as raw scans, and this is going to be a very quick read, which is exactly the goal of a monthly manga. As usual, this is not the chapter review, and the review will be out likely on the 20th. Depending on when I get a full translation. Right now I have about half the chapter translated, so keep the notifications turned on for the review. I'll likely send the audio of the review to the chapter review editor tonight. As always, we're just going to go over the standouts from the spoilers, and if I don't discuss something, it's because I'm waiting for more additional context to be added by sources I trust, because I don't want to give you guys the wrong information. So this is the first thing that we got to talk about here, which is the fact that Gaara and the Sand Village Shinobi are shown battling Matsuri in the chapter via the flashback. But what you should be paying attention to is not the fact that the battle is taking place itself, but instead where inside the land of wind the battle is taking place. So based on the last chapter, the knee-jerk reaction was that Tsunagakure was going to be the battlefield, so the Sand Village, but the battleground that we see, it is the exact opposite. They are fighting in Orochimaru's hideout in the land of wind. They are underground, which means that the Anbu and the Sand Village, they gotten pretty damn close to where Kashin Koji and Boruto are hiding. You gotta remember, Orochimaru's hideouts, they are one giant underground maze. If you don't know where you're going, you're gonna get lost. So we don't know how close they were to where Koji was hiding, but you gotta chalk one up to Kashin Koji's genjutsu skill being good enough to avoid being completely detected. But based on what we have in this chapter, he and Boruto, they're gonna need to consider moving to another base of operations. Another thing that's very interesting about the location is that it goes back to what we were told earlier in Boruto TBV Vortex, which is that the other Kage, they were growing very restless. When it comes to Konoha, Gaara, he is the Kaze Kage, yet he's out there personally leading the hunt for Boruto because it is believed that Boruto killed Naruto. I've said it before and I'll say it again until I'm blue in the face. The response to Naruto's death, it should speak volumes to how large of an impact that Naruto had on the ninja world, that they are going this far to avenge the symbol of peace and justice in the shinobi world. Which, if you're a Naruto fan, that should make you crack a very sad smile. Our favorite knuckle-headed ninja truly did get acknowledged and changed the ninja world for the better like he said he would, and it is a testament to his legacy and universe, even if Naruto isn't here to see it himself. That's what makes it bittersweet. The battle itself of Matsuri versus Gaara goes exactly as you expected. Matsuri, even without trying, has Gaara leaking out blood from all the injuries he sustained. Gaara realizes that they can't win this battle, and he's doing his best to protect Shinki and his other two adopted children, and Yodo and Arya, which he goes as far as to place them into sand cocoons and tells them he will transport them as close as he can to Tsunagakure, but when they get to that point, they need to make a run for it. It is continuing the theme of what we saw in both Naruto as well as in Boruto TBV Vortex, with Sasuke saving Boruto, which is the reminder that the children must be protected at all costs, even if it means your life. Gaara was fully prepared to give his life to protect Shinki and his team, but this is where it gets interesting. Shinki steps in to save his father by using his Iron Sankeke Genkai, saying that he believed that for the sake of the village, his father's life was more important. What I love about this is that it again continues some of the themes from Naruto, which Boruto haters will tell you there are no themes being continued, which means they're reading the manga with their eyes closed. Basically, the older generation understands that the true lifeblood of the village, it's not the Kage who runs the village. The Kage is not the king, but instead the king is the children of the next generation who will guide the village moving forward. There's always been this disconnect between the young and the old when it comes to that regard and universe. Asuma and Shikamaru didn't realize it until they got older. It's the same thing here, and so it's so refreshing to see Shinki basically pull that Asuma and Shikamaru and come to understanding the truth, but not understanding it all the way, still thinking that the Kage, the leader, is the most important person in the village. This, of course, is how we learn how Shinki was turned into Shinju and reborn as Ryu, and his personality, it is very interesting. It's the polar opposite, just like we saw with the other Shinju. This is also where we learn why Gaara, he is so battle damaged and is near unresponsive when Kankuro is contacting Konoha, because Matsuri was in the process of killing Gaara before Shinki acted. This brings us to the next major development that we have in the chapter with the leaks, which is further clarification on how people are made into awakened Shinju. And we get confirmation of something we said here on the channel months ago, which is that there are requirements to become an awakened Shinju other than just getting bitten by a claw rhyme. There were other Konoha shinobi consumed and turned into trees, yet none of them produced a thorn soul bulb to become an awakened Shinju. Matsuri has a line in the chapter where she mentions being interested to see if Shinki becomes a awakened Shinju like them, and it potentially links back to what was previously said. The state of the emotions during the time when someone's bitten by a claw rhyme have to be at a certain point, and their strength level has to be at a certain point as well. All this is strongly implied here. So the awakened Shinju are made up out of chakra. Chakra, as we all know, is made up of both physical and spiritual energy, yin and yang chakra basically. So the strength of a person, that is the yang chakra, and the extremely heightened emotions, that is the yin chakra. Matsuri's words are something we have to keep an eye on, because Kashin Koji specifically stated Jura would be building an army, and Matsuri, given she was targeting Gaara, it appears as if they have specific people they're adding to their numbers that they're targeting. Think of it like war potentials in Bleach. If you know, you know. Now, this is where it does get a little interesting. So we also have more scaling information in regards to how strong the awakened Shinju are. And this is going to piss some people off, because there's this tribal feeling in nature that like you got to keep Ishiki and Bear Elmo Naruto at the top of the mountaintop in terms of power, because otherwise people get pissed off. So with these newly awakened Shinju, including Ryu, he is strong enough that he neg diffs Code without having to use any real power. Code has a moment in the chapter where, for reasons we don't know yet, he tries to attack Jura and Ryu, and he just flexes on the dude without even using any effort, and we see Ryu dog out Code, and so too does Jura. At one point, Jura just casually rips this man's arm off by shooting a Biju Dama at it, and Code is forced to use his claw mark jutsu to bandage the arm to stop it from bleeding out. He's basically making a tourniquet mid-battle. And to Code's credit, he's still talking trash, so he's still got his pride as a man. We're at the point that I warned you guys back in late 2022 that when Code's power level was stated to be above Jigen and we were getting all this hype, I said, you really need to prepare yourself for this being the new Frieza or Super Saiyan. So way back in like chapter 68 or 69, whenever Ada dropped that line of Code about him being useless, I said, think of this like Frieza or Super Saiyan, meaning that once a monster power is viewed as this unstoppable pinnacle, it's going to be viewed as an afterthought, because we're going to go through a textbook power progression approach like a lot of shonen take, a lot of gateway shonen take. So Code being above Jigen was continuously being used as a measuring stick for power to set up the antagonist as an established threat to make you say, okay, I know how strong this guy is, and then measure the growth of the supporting cast. Code doesn't use karma in these panels, but with the ease at which Jura and Ryu both took turns dogging out Code with no concern whatsoever, it shows that karma would not have made any difference here. Just as Jigen versus Naruto and Sasuke, when you read that fight very closely, you can tell that Jigen was playing around the whole time. Again, it took him 4 hits to leave Naruto near death, unable to maintain his chakra mode, couldn't even stand up. And he could have ended them at any moment when he went full power, but he chose to play around, and that resulted in his body cracking from using too much of Ishiki's power. We're getting a similar thing here with Code. The Shinju are just playing around with somebody who is stronger than Jigen. However, on top of this establishing a clear hierarchy, what this also does is that it shows us that the clear threat for Kashin Koji and Boruto, it is there, because they have not given up on tracking down the person helping Boruto, who we as the audience know is Kashin Koji. They're doubling down on the threat needing to be eliminated. Jura basically treats Code like a bottom girl, the same way that a pimp will tell his bottom girl to go put on some pumps and some lipstick and a short skirt and hit the corner. Jura is telling Code while he's nursing his wounds that he will spare his life, but in exchange he wants him to go find whoever's helping Boruto and to kill them. This is going to make Kashin Koji's next move a very interesting one, because it means that Kashin Koji, the walls, they're closing in on him even further now, potentially faster than anticipated. Gaara and the Sand Village Shinobi, they were able to narrow down his location enough. They found Orochimaru's hideout, but not the part of the hideout where Kashin Koji was hiding in. Matsuri and the Claw Grimes that she had helping her, they were in the area as well. And Jura had already dispatched a Matsuri in terms of sending her out prior to all this taking place with the intention of killing whoever was helping Boruto out. Jura clocked that Boruto had a helper when they were fighting in chapter 4 of the manga. Now you add in Code, who is being forced to look for Kashin Koji. It makes for a rather interesting scenario. Kashin Koji, he is the clone of the all-famous Toad Sage, the all-famous Jiraiya himself. Think about the boiling toad metaphor that you see used in fiction a lot. It's basically that the toad doesn't notice the water temperature changing over time until it's too late and it gets boiled. It's often used as a way to describe how easy it can be to miss all the small changes that build up slowly over time. And by the time they realize that there is a problem, the situation, it has reached a point where the solution is so catastrophic that there is no favorable outcome. Kashin Koji is in that spot right now, or rather he is getting into that spot. But whether or not he is the literal toad who will recognize the changing temperature and try to escape like a real toad would, or if he's the metaphorical toad that doesn't have the sense of mind and doesn't behave like a true toad and doesn't catch the changing situation till it's too helpless, it remains to be seen which of these is going to be for Kashin Koji. Does he stay in the position he's in and eventually get killed, or does he realize what happens and he adjusts? But it's something we do need to keep our eyes on moving forward. This is going to be very crucial information. So this is made even worse when you realize that what's happening in Konoha, where it's getting revealed that Boruto and Kawaki, as they're speaking, Amado is able to view the entire conversation through Kawaki's eyes. This just makes Kashin Koji's situation even more dire. Now, I know some of you guys are going to be confused. I've even got DMs from some people saying they don't understand how this is possible. So I'm going to clear this up. And I'm going to explain to you what I've been saying here on the channel ever since I began covering Boruto in 2018. Do not confuse androids with cyborgs. And a lot of you guys are still doing that. So the misconception for a lot of Western fans when it comes to anime and manga, it comes down to one of the biggest gateway shonen and one of the biggest gateway anime in the West is Dragon Ball, and Dragon Ball Z in particular, where the dub, the video games, the subtitles, they all call it 17 and 18 by the names Android 17 and 18 when they're cyborgs. Cyborgs are humans who have been mechanically enhanced. If you cut them, they bleed. They don't leak out oil. Kawaki and all the car inners, from Code to Amado to Kashin Koji to Delta to Kawaki himself, they are all cyborgs and they've all been referred to as cyborgs. Some of them are clones, but they are still cyborgs. They are not androids. They have an entire body made up of ninja tech, which is why Kawaki's body is described when we first meet him as being a literal scientific ninja tool. That makes him a cyborg. That's why Amado can see through Kawaki's eyes, the same way he can see through Delta's eyes. Every inch of their bodies, it has been modified, and this just makes you wonder all the more. If Amado is getting this bold in his actions, where he's throwing this much caution to the wind, knowing he's being surveilled, what more does he have planned? And what other intel has he gained to make him feel this emboldened? With the hunt for Kashin Koji officially beginning now, and Amado's reaction to Boruto saying he cannot allow the name of his helper to be known, as we saw in the last chapter, Amado clocked that right away. You have to wonder if maybe Amado will be one of the ones who is indirectly linked in this hunt for Kashin Koji. And that's why Kashin Koji wanted Boruto to keep his name out of his mouth. It's looking more and more like Kashin Koji does not want Amado to know he's alive. And now that Code is looking for him, that's just one more set of eyes that can potentially put eyes on Kashin Koji. We have to ask ourselves, what did Koji see in the future? Now, again, as a reminder, the chapter review will be out on the 20th, most likely, the day of the official release. We got the leaks in enough time that my chapter review editor has enough time to edit without any type of a rush. The chapter editor is the same one who worked on that Boruto sales video that you can watch here on the left. Highly recommend doing that. So check that out if you haven't already. Or click here to watch my new Chainsman chapter review on my Anime Explained channel. And as always, if more crucial intel drop on the chapter, I'll keep you guys updated. Otherwise, check for the chapter review on the 20th.